The crystalline halls of the Galactic Consortium trembled as Orla signed the treaty with hands that had evolved to manipulate gravity itself. Her bioluminescent markings pulsed anxious violet across her translucent skin, a dead giveaway to anyone from her species that she was terrified. But the 12 assembled species representatives only saw what they wanted to see, the daughter of the Xyla High Council, sacrificing herself to prevent the extinction of humanity. "It is done," she announced, her voice carrying the harmonic frequencies that made her people natural diplomats. "I will take Jackson Cole as my bonded partner. In exchange, humanity receives provisional membership in the consortium and immunity from the cleansing protocols." Jackson stood beside her in his ceremonial Earth suit, looking almost comically out of place among beings who could bend spacetime and communicate through quantum entanglement. He was tall by human standards, with dark hair graying at the temples and eyes that held something Orla couldn't quite classify. Was it sadness, resignation, or something far more dangerous? The Vrax ambassador, a silicon-based entity whose form constantly shifted between states of matter, pulsed a warning red. "This is madness, Counselor Orla. Your people know the history. Humans were forbidden from the stars for a reason. A reason no one will explain," Orla countered. "We've studied them for 50 cycles. They're primitive, yes. Violent, certainly, but deserving of extinction. The data doesn't support the consortium's classification of them as a level Omega threat." The Vrax said nothing more, but its chromatic signature suggested profound disagreement. The bonding ceremony was brief, a mere formality that satisfied both human and Xyla customs. When it was done, Orla found herself aboard a transport heading to the neutral station where she and Jackson would live during their probationary marriage period. 5 standard years. If humanity proved they could coexist peacefully, they would be granted full consortium rights. If not, Orla didn't let herself think about the if not. Jackson broke the silence as their shuttle entered hyperspace. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did." Orla studied him with her multispectral vision, seeing the electromagnetic fields his primitive biology generated, the heat distribution across his skin, the rapid firing of neurons in his brain. "Your world was 3 solar rotations away from orbital bombardment, 16 billion lives, and now you're stuck with me." He smiled, but it didn't reach those strange eyes. "Must be quite the burden, being married to a monster." "I don't believe you're monsters," Orla said firmly. "I believe the consortium is afraid of what they don't understand. They understand perfectly." Jackson turned to look out the viewport at the spiraling colors of hyperspace. "They just won't tell you what they know." The first 3 months passed in surprising tranquility. Jackson was intelligent, well-read in both human and Xeno literature, and possessed a dry humor that Orla found herself enjoying. He cooked meals from Earth, a primitive practice that nonetheless produced remarkable flavors. He asked questions about her research into quantum biology. He never tried to touch her, respecting the boundaries of their arrangement, but Orla began to notice things. Jackson didn't sleep like other species she'd studied. He would lie still for hours with his eyes closed, but his neural activity suggested something closer to meditation than rest. His brain patterns were wrong to organized, too efficient for a species that supposedly hadn't developed true AI integration. When she ran a deep tissue scan while he was in the shower, she discovered something impossible. His DNA was editing itself. Not randomly, not in response to environmental pressures, but purposefully. She watched in real time as genetic sequences reorganized, optimized, evolved. It was as if his entire cellular structure was constantly upgrading itself, adapting to threats that didn't even exist yet. "You've been watching me." Orla spun around. Jackson stood in the doorway, water still dripping from his hair, a towel around his waist. His expression was calm. "To calm your biology it's impossible," Orla whispered. "You're self-evolving at a cellular level. That kind of genetic manipulation requires technology we won't achieve for another 1,000 cycles." Jackson walked to the window overlooking the station's central hub. "Do you know why humans were forbidden from the stars, or the real reason?" "Tell me, because we're patient." He said it so simply, as if it explained everything. Every other species in the consortium reached the stars, because they evolved to survive on harsh worlds or because they had natural abilities that made space travel necessary. But humans, we evolved on a paradise world. We should have stayed primitive forever. "I don't understand. We didn't evolve for space, Orla. We evolved for war." Jackson's reflection in the window showed something ancient in his eyes. Every resource-rich region on Earth was contested. Every tribe fought every other tribe. For hundreds of thousands of years, the smartest, strongest, and most adaptable humans survived. We didn't just evolve to use tools. We evolved to outthink, outplan, and outlast any enemy. Orla felt her bioluminescence flickering between fear yellow and curiosity blue. That doesn't explain 200 years ago. The consortium made first contact with Earth, Jackson continued. They saw our wars, our weapons, our tribalism, and decided we were too dangerous. But they made one mistake. They let a human delegation visit a consortium station before they implemented the blockade. The pieces fell into place in Orla's mind with horrible clarity. They brought back technology. They brought back one thing, a sample of Rack's genetic material. Silicon-based, self-replicating, programmable. Jackson turned to face her. Within 50 years, every human had trace amounts of it in their system. Not enough to be detected by standard scans. Just enough to give our already adaptive biology the tools it needed to take the next step in our evolution. You're not human anymore, Orla breathed. We're still human. We're just ... more. Jackson's smile was sad. Every human alive today carries this adaptation. It's not violent. It's not aggressive. It's just efficient. We heal faster, think clearer, live longer, adapt quicker. The consortium will never allow this. They already have. Jackson gestured to their quarters, to their marriage contract, to everything. That's what this probationary period is really about. They're watching to see if we can coexist. If we can prove we're not the threat they fear. Orla's mind raced through the implications. If humanity was released into the greater galaxy with this kind of advantage ... Why tell me? Because you deserve the truth, and because... Jackson stepped closer, and for the first time, Orla saw genuine emotion in his eyes. Because I'm tired of being afraid. The consortium gave us a choice. Remain locked on our world and stagnate, or prove we can be something better than weapons. Can you? Orla asked quietly. Can your species choose peace when you're evolved for war? Jackson was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, but I'm trying. We're all trying. He extended his hand, a human gesture of trust. Will you help us? Orla looked at his hand, at the man who was both less and more than she'd believed, at the choice before her. Report what she'd learned and doom humanity to eternal isolation, or gamble that a species of warriors could choose to become something else. She thought of the Vrax ambassador's warning, of the fear she'd seen in the eyes of beings who had survived eons. Then she thought of Jackson cooking dinner, of his laughter at her jokes, of the way he looked at the stars with something like hope. Orla reached out and took his hand. It was warm, alive, and completely, wonderfully human. Yes, she said, I'll help you. And in the quantum-entangled databases of the consortium, a single entry was updated. Species 947 humanity. Probationary period extended. Observer Orla reports continued compatibility. Threat assessment, pending. The war, it seemed, was far from over. But perhaps, Orla thought, as Jackson's fingers intertwined with hers, it was a war worth fighting. End.